When you stop and think about it, we actually know very little about the Holy Family. And because we know so little, we may tend to imagine that they lived happily ever after the birth of Jesus and until Jesus began his public ministry. And yet in today's gospel, we hear about a conflict taking place in the Holy Family. And it all started with Jesus. As we heard, Jesus was 12 years old, not yet a man, but no longer a child. A confusing period for most pre-teenagers, as well as their parents, and probably a confusing period for Jesus and his parents. Leaving Jerusalem for home, Mary noticed that Jesus was nowhere to be found. She may have thought to herself, Jesus is 12 now. He considers himself to be a man. He must be walking with Joseph and the other men. Joseph also noticed that Jesus was nowhere to be found. He may have thought to himself, Jesus is only 12 and is still a boy. He must be walking with his mother and the other women. When they finally realized that Jesus was missing, they surely began to panic. So they rushed back to Jerusalem, and at the end of the third day, mind you, Joseph and Mary found their son in the temple. By then, Mary was very upset, and rightly so. Son, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been looking for you with great anxiety. Didn't you realize that we would be worried about you? Jesus replied, why were you looking for me? I needed to be here in my Father's house. Why are you so upset? It was all a big misunderstanding. Misunderstandings occur even in the best of families. Jesus and his parents resolved their conflict and returned home. And as we just heard in the gospel, Jesus was obedient to his parents. Now, I would tend to think, especially with a 12-year-old boy, that they had other conflicts and misunderstandings. After all, we call them the Holy Family, not the perfect family. My sisters and brothers, today as we reflect on the Holy Family of Joseph, Mary, and Jesus, we are invited, we are encouraged to take a look at our own families. Are there any changes that we would like to see in our family in 2022? Are there any conflicts or unresolved misunderstandings in our family that we need to address? Do we need to make more of an effort to forgive a family member who may have hurt us in some way? Or do we need to try to find ways to make God truly the center of our family or household? Perhaps by praying together, saying the rosary together, praying grace before meals together. Perhaps these questions could be discussed together as a family or with your spouse or with a relative. As the new year soon begins, may we all strive to become holier individuals as well as holier families. Not perfect families, but holier families.